Kingdom Rising. Joining us from some location somewhere around the world, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good this evening, Pastor. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing really good. I'm just feel great tonight. I know this is a tough subject and there's a lot going on, but you know, if I do the Debbie Downer thing, everybody be all depressed. So I've been trying to keep everybody up, pumped, and ready to go up, but at the same time, we got to warn them of things happening. Mike, is there anything breaking in the intelligence world or any information you may have that we need to know right now that I'm not even talking about?
Well, everything is breaking apart, Pastor. There's always, there's always something happening. Now, whether the public is going to be privy to that, that's a different story. I know that everybody has their finger on the Middle East right now.
Right.
It is it's a tinder pot.
Well, have we ever had this? Have we ever had this many ships and subs and I mean, without being in war? I mean,
no.
So tell us what's going on.
Listen, it's quite clear though. You don't deploy a major arm of your naval forces when you're not at war, right? Can't do that. So it's a contingency against something that's devastating. I know that a lot of people would just love the idea that peace would be had, but I'll tell you something. If they had a peace agreement right now, right?
Yeah.
There's still going to be, the inevitable is still going to happen. It's unavoidable at this point. I do know that they are tomorrow. They're going to decide whether they are going to force the hand of folks or not. And I'm speaking about those in the Middle East, not being specific, but they may force the hand of individuals in the Middle East to give way to a international plan. Yes, tomorrow. Yeah, so they may force the hand of a specific individual, and they may have no other choice but to resign their campaign.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes. There are elements in place, support elements as well as offensive elements, and the reason why is, first of all, the Ukraine, those guys are just, I don't know what they're doing. They're in danger, is what they're doing. And Putin is not, he's not collaborating with any of the Western authorities, right, or forces. And so it's a very dangerous position for the Ukraine. I say that because he can literally wipe that entire place off the face of the earth, and within minutes. Right?
Yeah, because of his nuclear capability, right?
Well, that, and he has other weapons he's just not used. There are high yield explosive weapons that Putin has. There are shock weapons. There are some of these implosion devices that can really cause damage, and save the land and everything, but destroy the people. There are certain chemical agents that can be deployed that are they're not longevity, chemical weapons, but they can do their job. And so if they continue to press like that, and if the coordination between Russia and Turkey and Iran, if they continue to increase their collaborative efforts, well, I think the world's going to see something they never thought they'd see. I do not like the idea of so much of our Navy being in the Middle East like that. I do not like that idea.
Well, are you worried a little bit? Are you worried about China?
That concerns me that our ships are over there, because I'll tell you, every right now, I'll put it this way. Right now, I'm kind of I prepared myself for something dealing with the Navy will be very distasteful for this nation. But Pastor Paul, we're in a time where people are quite prideful. They think their ideas and their ways they continue to underestimate the enemy. Yes. Why in the world, for example, why is the Middle East in the shape it's in? October 7th, Hamas does what they do to Israel. The world forgot, didn't they?
Yep.
And they pin everything on Benjamin Netanyahu. It was Hamas who went in there and raped the kids and the women. Yep. It was Hamas who took prisoners, right? They give back a few prisoners, and then everybody thinks, hey, they're going to release the rest. What rest? I challenge everybody to keep accountability of prisoners. so that people can know who's died and who is not. And at this point, why would they even keep them this long, right? Israel's in conflict with Hezbollah, but Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, these are units of people. You can't say, well, this guy's Hamas because of his uniform, right? You can't say that. Now you have, like yesterday, there was some Hamas engaged certain battalion in Israel, but they were kids, 13.
What?
Hamas in uniform, right?
In
So
uniform?
my point is, yes, in uniform. My point is this: you cannot fight an enemy or defeat an enemy who can potentially be everybody. You cannot let down your defenses on this. Israel's best option is to increase its defenses of Israel itself. They're going to have some sort of different security parameters. They're going to have to literally lock down that country. But I know that's not going to happen. Right? It's on lockdown right now, but I know that's not going to happen. International pressure will dictate otherwise, right? And that, of course, prophecy will be fulfilled. It will be fulfilled. It's just a no-win scenario. And Turkey has come out, and they have Turkey. Saudi Arabia has turned against Israel.
Yeah.
Turkey has turned against Israel. Jordan has whispered things against Israel, right? There's a nuclear weapons package deal going on with Pakistan and some other places. So that's why we have such a large naval group over there. Unfortunately, it's going to be a deterrent for a little while.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Pastor,
you.
it's not going to work.
I mean, we can't sit there forever, right? So at some point, we got to start moving our assets away because we're too vulnerable right now in the Pacific. I mean, with China. I mean, look, today China's flying aircraft, warship or warplanes into Japanese airspace, not just on the edges. They were all the way into the airspace. It's a bold move. It seems like, and you got North Korea, Kim Jong-un down there. He's just itching to push a rocket off, and Japan feels very vulnerable. What about Hawaii? What about Guam? What about Diego Garcia? I mean, all these different places that we know. American Samoa. We got a lot of area that we're not. Do we have it all covered?
No, and we live in a time, unfortunately, where people are, the pride of nations, the bluff is going to be called, right? I'll give an example. There's evil in this world, then there are dummies. I hate to be so blunt, but there's evil and then there are dummies, right?
Okay.
The dummies in the world are incredibly prideful because they've been comfortable for so long, right? Let's say they're out of shape. They underestimate their enemy a little too much. They're not really qualified to be as forthcoming as they were a long time ago, as leaders were a long time ago. So they're different now. Leaders are different now. It's a lot of politics and talk and all this stuff engaged in there. It's not like it used to be. So in this change, the guard is down for America, period. Right?
Yeah.
Our bluff is going to be called. Now what that means is we have stupidity in this nation. We do. We have stupidity. It's very stupid.
Yeah.
And it's going to show, right? It's going to show. For example, Japan. Japan has prideful stupidity likewise. They've dropped the ball. And they have adopted too many ways, lazy ways, where they're just not as prudent as they used to be. And that comes with a price in this world that we live in. Darkness awaits for someone to get in pride, and then it will strike. In fact, doesn't the devil always hit a person when they think they've got it made? That's when he strikes to knock the whole house of cards down. So in a like fashion, in this case, we're going to see islands lost. I don't believe people understand the gravity of what we face here. It seems like it's normal. If you tune into media, all they show us politics and entertainment stuff. So people really don't have a good pulse of what's happening, right?
Right.
A small example would be the astronauts stuck on the ISS. Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute. How can they be stuck if the USA is so advanced? Uh-oh, we got a problem, right? So something different is happening here. I'll suggest this. It is not people who are so advanced in the USA. It's what's been assisting and guiding elements of the USA. Now, I'll put it that way.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you have America has had guidance the entire time. Some of it was written in biographies a long time ago when this nation began, when the Great Civil War was fought. Some of it has not. People are aware of things. Spiritually, they're certainly aware of things, right? But the leaders, look at the leader selection right now.
Oh,
And you tell me, is it normal or not? Because I'll be
no.
blunt. I don't want to be I don't want to be in their shoes. I'm going to make that clear. But nobody in their right mind, right, about 50 years ago would ever choose any of these guys to lead a nation. They do not fit the category of somebody who is level-headed enough. And just, you have to be a different person altogether to engage everything at one time and still have the energy to go forward, right, with a level head.
Yeah.
We had they're just not that quality of individual. But this is starting to happen all over the world. It's not just us. We're going to see most governments in crisis, at a crisis point.
Okay, so when you say that, and you're right, because I look at some of the world leaders, I start scratching my head saying, what's going on up in Canada? What's going over in the UK? What's taking place in France? What is Macron doing? I mean, he dismissed, first of all, they want to get rid of him, so he calls for a snap election. He wipes out their parliament. They reelect people, and then when the people spoke, he says, "No, I'm not letting the people that you voted for have the authority." I mean, what is he doing? And it seems like this is going on all over the world.
It is.
There's people, unqualified people, are sitting on the thrones.
There you go. And you know what? What's so amazing about that, Pastor Paul, is that is prophecy. That is prophecy.
Okay.
Where people, I believe the statement is I'm going to have to paraphrase here. It says that people you would not will lead these nations. In other words, people you would not choose.
Right.
People who do not fit the category of what a person would think of as leadership. Now, I'm talking about this because it's unfortunate. I know that people, they don't want bad news, right?
No.
But I have a news flash. Just as the weather has been consuming lives, right? So will other situations in every nation. For example, the UK is in trouble right now.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to do anything about it?
No.
When and I'll say it again, when 70,000 people are lost, then what? Then what? You remember when 50,000 in Turkey died?
Yes.
And everybody forgot, like it was normal. It's almost like we don't. People do
People
not have
the capacity care.
To see. They can't see the trend of the trouble that's coming. They'll see the darkness because it's coming to their front doors, but they can't. For some reason, it's almost like something just wipes their minds out. We have, even right now, weather-wise, we're about to hit a crisis point in 2025. We're not even close to it right now. I know the weather's bad, but we're not close to the crisis.
Let's talk about that, because I know you have talked, because Apophis, that's in 2029, and there was some information that's come out of CERN that's been, I know it's not right, because the first thing they said was CERN said, someone tried to say that, or the first press release was basically CERN has recalculated Apophis's arrival and it's going to hit us, but they're thinking it was September of this year. I'm thinking, no, it's not coming till 2029. But maybe there is something there. Is there been a recalculation? Because they haven't given us any updates since 2015, Mike. What do you know about this?
Pastor Paul, there are good people out there in the world, right?
Yep.
And on occasion, these good people will risk their lives to try and get something questionable out there to the people. When somebody sees something like that, it's out of place. It's out of place. Now, if a good person did that, they're trying to give a warning. They likely are not successful in giving that warning out. not to everybody. But let me just tell you this: all the information that people have on Apophis came from space agencies.
Okay.
Okay, the only verification of Apophis that people had is when it was in proximity to where they could see it with their telescopes. But as far as trajectories and real calculations, as far as knowing if it moved because of other celestial objects and the change in celestial mechanics and influences, nobody knows. So you have these agencies that they don't release everything. And so they give people a date, an assumption date, which is why I continue to say I'm not worried about Apophis. That's too far off. We're going to have bigger problems. No, I can almost guarantee nobody's going to think about Apophis. Nobody.
So,
Nobody's going to be concerned
okay,
about
so let's
Apophis.
talk
The
about
Earth
that.
will be,
Okay, 2025.
somebody knows that we are in trouble. Somebody knows that we're in real trouble. And I believe that it's almost like the Lord is giving us hint after hint after hint after hint that what we expected, we do not get. What we did not expect is what we always face. This has happened in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
What we expected, we did not get, but what we did not expect is what we end up having to deal with. Same thing is going to happen this year, 2025. 2025 is a crisis point, not only for the heavens, but here on earth. The water, for example, right?
Okay.
The rainstorms we've been having is a consequence of the currents of the waters of the oceans are changing rapidly, right? Now they're trying to trickle out the information on this. But something is happening to our ocean currents, and of course they're going to cover their tracks. But anybody who knows about the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, AMOC, if they know about that, then they understand that all that cold water that's been melting is changing the salinity of the oceans, specifically of the Atlantic currents, right? They're changing rapidly. So that's causing, a lot more dead fish. Cold water traps gases, right?
Okay.
Hot water releases gases.
Yes.
So when you have cold water and its natural flow of things, it settles on the bottom, pushing warmer waters up. And then, of course, that hot water goes back up to the poles, freezes again, and the same thing happens. This happens over many, many years. It's been disrupted. This disruption, Pastor Paul, is going to increase temperatures 30 degrees.
What? No, we can't survive that, can we?
No, we cannot. No, we cannot. In fact,
well, what this water?
Shortly, there'll be an example shortly of not
Okay.
surviving heat when certain places of the earth people cannot be in, period. You'll see that. And then 2025 will come. And I hope that people have some sort of mitigation plan for their own families and homes. We live in a time where the pressure is not going to let up. I know people want to break. I know they're tired of hearing the disastrous reports, but things are going to begin to compound themselves. They're going to get worse and worse and worse. Now, it shouldn't be depressing for anybody who believes in Christ, because we're not, nobody's here by happenstance. I don't believe we're purposed to be here, which means there's an element within us that's able to deal with anything at any time we live in. If we live in a specific time, we're able to deal with everything around us. That's just the way it is. God doesn't make mistakes. I don't believe that. Hopefully, I don't think anybody else believes that either. So we're here purpose, but these conditions are going to degrade rapidly. People in the USA, for example, you can't really pinpoint who, people will get closer as the time comes, but there are going to be people who are going to have to abandon their homes. They're going to have to get out of certain states. There's some evil people in America right now that will take full advantage of it. For example, the gangs taking over apartment complexes all over the USA.
Yeah, that's happening.
Is anybody aware of that?
Yes.
Hundreds died in the last 2 days because of this. So this is happening in the cities, right?
Yep.
This is happening in the cities. New York is a primary target for a lot of these gangs. Once they migrate up there, they're going to do the same thing. But what they don't understand, those cities are the last place you want to be during these alterations in climate. We still have magma on the move, even more underneath our feet, right? We have more calderas they found, I believe they found 3 new calderas. How do you find 3 new
That's
calderas, right?
unbelievable number. How do you
Full of
find
magma,
that? Is that
right?
because they're coming more? Let me ask you, because we've seen where two things. I don't want to forget the water event in the Grand Canyon, but put that for a second. In Italy, we got these volcanoes. I mean, we got Mount Etna, we got Stromboli, we got Vesuvius. It seems like they're all about rumbling. We got Iceland went off again, Mike, in the last week, and the toxic plume. Remember, you said this could be an ash environment. The toxic
Yeah.
plume and fumes and sulfur dioxide smothering people, get sore throats. They were in the hospitals. They were asthma.
It'll get worse. It'll get worse. Here in America, everybody, right? You're not going to have to make anybody wear a mask. They will find a respirator. People are going to be trying to think up ways to keep ash out of their homes.
Really? In America?
It's going to be all over cars. In America, it's going to be all over cars, all over homes, all over the grass, all over everything. That starts to degrade the environment. And you're looking at something that's not more than it's less than a year away, right? Less than, not more, less than. So these conditions will build. This is not something that somebody does not have to believe. All they have to continue to do is live, but they see slowly but surely environmental conditions are degrading rapidly on the face of the entire earth, right? They see it. They see it is coming. People can't ignore it all day. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so the water event, for example, as the ocean currents continue to change, it will change weather patterns even more. The wind will become higher and higher. See, the ocean currents regulate the temperature of the earth. They are a huge contributor to the regulation of temperatures on the earth. Without the ocean currents, we have a problem. I know that the Gulf Stream, they actually have devices that measure the current, right?
Yes.
So right now, you have a good flow, right? But the flow is 40% less than what it was 5 years ago. 5 years before that, there was only a 2% change. So we have a problem. We have a rapid decrease of the ocean currents, a rapid decrease, right? The volcano in Iceland, right, for example, that's a multi-layered system. Remember I talked about that?
Yes,
that eruption will not stop. It's going to keep going. And so I know other scientists came out there and they said, oh, yeah, it's going to stop within a month. But one of the issues is they presented all this evidence and proof and everything else. It was going to stop, yet it's still going. And they just use that term, well, we're baffled. No, they're not. They know what's happening. They're not going to tell anybody that conditions are degrading. They can't come out on the news and report any story that would cause even more chaos and panic in the world. They know we're at a tipping point.
Yeah.
Right. If anybody ever knew that any situation was hopeless, basketball, I guarantee the murder rate would quadruple. That there's some evil people out there. If they hear bad news, if they think, well, this is it, they're going to take full advantage of it in an evil way. And they don't want those people to surface, right? They don't want that.
No, they don't.
But it just seems like I just hope that those who have a relationship with Christ will see the situations and realize that they're made for these times and get themselves ready for the truth of prophecy, which means just like that book is sweet in the mouth, but bitter in the belly.
Yes, it is.
Once it starts happening, it's not going to be the exciting thing everybody thought it was going to be.
No.
The reality of prophecy is devastating. Nevertheless, these things take place.
No way
terrorist
to stop
watch,
it.
by the way. We have a high terror alert right now in the USA.
All right, let's talk about that.
Tonight, right now. Because there are known threats against both candidates right now. Do you know that?
No.
There are known threats against both of them. We have an evil that's about to surface within this country. Nobody's going to hide who they are anymore. That's one merit that everybody can deal with. So what I'm saying is that just about everybody is going to come out and tell everybody what they truly believe. The shocking thing people are going to find out is how many people are going to come forward saying that they're active witches. That's going to really shock some folks.
Are you serious?
When I say active witches, I mean active witches. Not we're not talking about somebody who's interested as a hobby. No, these are they live by this stuff.
There's a
right?
lot of
So they'll
there's
come
a
out
lot
and
of
say that.
covens, isn't there? There's a lot of covens and warlocks and wizards and
Oh yeah, yeah, they're all coming out,
witches.
and they don't care to tell anybody what they are. Uh, you're looking at that. Actually, some of them will probably start doing this probably in about a week. They'll start coming out with certain things. So people will begin to know who they've been looking at, right? They're going to begin to know. There are going to be a lot of things that people once hid, they won't hide anymore. See, it just so happens that these people believe that they're in a time too, right? They're in a time of uncovering. They're in a time where their Lord is causing all things to be in submission, right? So they're going to come out with all their stuff, and I mean, it'll be a shocking thing.
So do
Some
you
people are
feel?
going to be.
Do you
Go ahead.
feel
Go
as we're
ahead.
going into this October now, just before the election, we have to be at the most highest volatile, satanic, because you're talking about the witches and stuff, and the creatures and the demonic, the principalities and the political principalities and the wickedness and every devisable thought. The Bible says it was in the days of Noah. It'd be in the end times. It'd be men's hearts were on evil continually, every imagination and thoughts of their hearts on evil. So, Mike, are we in the most critical 60 days, 70 days here, wicked time in the history of mankind with the weapons available and everything going on?
It's a revealing time, right? And
Yeah.
they will have their blood sacrifice. They will have a blood sacrifice, and it's not going to be a small one. This is the millennial contribution, I believe they called it. So this is a brand new era. They believe in this brand new era, and they're going to have their whatever that sacrifice is. They will have it. Now, keep in mind, these guys, they control media. They control all the stuff that we utilize, right? You'll see subtle messaging going out all over the place.
Mike, were they mocking us during the Chicago convention when they had their abortion mobile out front and they committed over 60 abortions during that week?
I think that was dumb. That was just stupidity.
Was that
dumb.
pride? Was that a prideful, arrogant?
That was dumb.
Sacrifice of babies.
Well, what they're doing is trying to placate, right, those who are in their base. And so I'm going to say something. Right, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
In the Democratic Party, there are more people who believe in abortions and who fight for abortions in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. That's a fact.
Oh, yeah.
And so they try to placate to the new age people, right? There are a lot of new age people in the Democratic Party because of the policies that a person can be whatever they want to be. That's why they continue to say, people ought to be free to love whoever they want, to do this whenever they want. And of course, I don't agree with any of that. So that's my gripe with them. Right. Actually, I have a gripe, but that's my gripe with them, right? They support these things. But I would say they have, Pastor Paul, I'll tell you how it works. They get people, and just watch them and you'll see this. They get people who believe in a cause, right?
Yep.
Say you have a person who grew up and they really had to fight in life to make a space for themselves. They recruit people like this to put them out as spokespersons. The spokesperson starts talking passionately. Now, they don't necessarily, that whoever that spokesman is following directives from some very clever people. Right? I'm going to say this is my opinion. So it is my opinion that most of the folks that we have seen, they don't know their body parts from their elbows. They just don't know. They're passionate about a cause, but they're being fed a narrative. They're being fed a narrative to believe in. And all it takes is for a very powerful person to talk to anybody out there and say, I really wish you would use your skill set to really, this would make us proud if you could make this happen or do this, and this country would be saved if you do this. And they get people believing in crooked causes.
Yeah.
They do it. I've been there. I've seen it. And you have people who don't know any better. They're not covered by the blood of the Lamb.
No.
They do not believe in Christ like everybody else, so they can be easily manipulated and deceived. They start believing in causes that are not naturally theirs.
because they have no
figures are
baseline.
coming to the forefront. No, they have no baseline. And but here's what gets people. Here's what confuses people. They see them up there. They see them passionate. Discernment will tell you that that person, for some reason, believes in their cause, or they're extremely evil or stupid or one or the other, right? The truth is they're extremely compassionate behind the cause, and they recruit people based on the life they have lived, right?
Yes.
So that when they present things to people, they become believable. So they pick people who are believable to others, see? And they're up there. Now, these other guys that sit in the back, these are dangerous people. Because nobody's going to mock those. They're not going to mock the people who do the molding. That just is not going to happen.
What do you think?
It's almost like nobody can really escape these folks either.
Do you think this shooter at the assassination attempt on Trump, this Crooks, was he? I know he was manipulated, but I'm asking, was he trained? Was he?
I think it was coached.
Okay.
I think it was coached, and I say that because in some certain 3-letter agencies, you go to a foreign country, right? You socially get involved with possibly a school, possibly some organization or something. You begin to coach kids that you're going to use 5 years down the road. This is how it works. You coach these kids in certain skill sets, right?
You kind of groom them.
And so when the time comes, that's when you initialize, right, your operatives, and they begin to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do, and they do it out of patriotism. I guarantee this kid thought he was a patriot.
Yeah, I know.
For trying to do what he did. There are people out there that have been told, you're a patriot because Trump is dangerous. There are other people that say, Kamala's dangerous. There are other. So everybody has a narrative. But Pastor, in a few months, some real players are coming forward, and they're going to mess up everybody's future game plan. So what everybody thought was going to happen is going to crumble, and they're going to have to deal with some brand new circumstances.
Okay, what are these new players that we don't know about?
Oh, these are the players, right? Because when the world starts exploding because of man's interactions and national interactions and certain celebrations of newfound peace, right?
Yeah.
That's, by the way,
that's not
is
real.
only found in prophecy, right? These people will begin to come forward. They will begin to initialize what they're going to initialize. Because I'll tell you right now, the economic system is going to change, right? It's going to be, it will change.
Yeah, it's already changing.
I mean, big time. Yep. The policies of the banks, in 4 months, people are going to be mailed brand new policies from their banks. They'll see it, those policies. That'll be the start of it. So many things will be changing.
I got one
quickly.
today. I actually got a policy change today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
it wasn't from the bank. It was from the government, but it has to do with the reporting that has to be done by by the accountants, and every business in America is going to have to do this. Okay. So.
Yep.
And it was passed by Congress. It says it was passed by Congress, and it kicks into gear on the last day of this month of December.
Yeah,
that's just one. I'm sure there's more, right?
Well, so if a person that's not up to par on the corporate world, their tax obligations and this, that, and the other, they're gonna have some. And plus, there's going to be an AI sentry over the data now. AI sentry.
So AI is going to monitor. Is going to monitor.
Oh yeah. It's gone through its phases. Well, now I have another gripe. Well, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And listen. Elon is attempting to do what he can do.
That's all I'll say. I know.
But while you have these guys who have handcuffs on them right now. They've been cuffed. They can't do anything else. That's why Elon changed his entire direction. I mean, in a heartbeat, he changed.
He went from left to right so fast. I'm not going to say he's all the way right. I'm just going to say he went into the center area, but leaning real far right, at least on the free speech. I mean, he went so fast. I've never seen anybody do that before.
He's just like, if you notice, he's against the establishment.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
But he also he gets paid by the establishment.
Right? Yeah, he's got the biggest contracts of anybody in the whole world
because of his Now that's because he's involved in space. He has
Space.
photographic memory.
Yeah, I know.
And because of what he knows how to do. And they just don't know everybody in his team yet. They don't.
No.
Elon is smart.
He's
He
smart.
protects himself. He developed an AI entity himself, which can engage other AI entities.
It's better than the rest of the
put
guys.
The brakes. Well, that put the brakes on everybody.
Let me ask you. Okay, you got Elon Musk over here. You had Sam Altman. Okay, they were together, but Elon said nah, and he went on his own way. And he's got his own AI thing. Altman's got his thing, and you got a few other guys, and Eli's got a team of brilliant guys, no doubt. And in my opinion, I'm asking him. I'm wondering what you think. Is Musk is so brilliant? Is he as smart as Albert Einstein? Is he smarter? Is he not as? I mean, where do you put him in this?
He has a photographic memory, right? When it comes to intelligence, anybody who has a good memory, you see those people as good intellectual.
There goes my chances. There I go.
Because they can remember. Right, I can't remember anything, Fastball. So guess what? My life, I really can't. I can't remember birth dates, anniversaries. You can forget.
Mike, you're the smartest guy I know. You're the absolute
I never remember my own birthday, but I can remember formulas.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I can actually see how computations interact with the living world. I can actually see that, but I can't remember anything. I can't remember.
What'd you have for breakfast this morning, Mike?
Can't do that. Can't do that. What did I have for breakfast?
Yeah, what'd you have for breakfast?
Nothing.
Yeah. Would you have Sunday? Would you have a Sunday dinner?
Nothing.
Or do you
I didn't have a Sunday dinner.
Okay.
No, I didn't have a Sunday dinner. I'm doing something. I've been doing something for the last this month 8, and it's very different, but it works.
So you're on a diet. You're on a diet program. I mean, you on a
no, not on a diet. No, not on a diet. I get about 5 to 7,000 calories per day.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, Mike. I mean, are you 6'8", 340 pounds?
I'm active. I'm very active.
Okay.
I'm extremely active. Right. I still have what is it? 6 to 8% body fat. So I'm pretty good.
You're in great shape.
But I have that high. Those high calorie counts because of protein.
Because you're eating a pure protein diet, aren't you? Almost.
Yeah, there's no. I haven't had solid food in it's been about 8 months.
So you're just doing the protein drinks, special. With
pretty much.
Government.
Pretty much.
You got any
off
special government
something? Something off the shelf. Something off the shelf.
You got to
I'll let you know when it's over.
Yeah, send me an email.
If it causes any kind of bad things in your health, I'm saying, hey, don't ever do this. Don't do this. But yeah.
You got to drop me a line. You got to drop me an email on this and give me some pointers.
I put things to the test, Pastor Paul, because I know there are certain people out there right now, right? There are communities out there, people who do not have it like we do, and they have to really survive.
Yeah,
they can't eat like everybody.
No,
else,
they can't.
Right? And so
let's talk about that. Isn't that what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Isn't that one of his biggest things he's fighting? Is the chemicals, the poisoning, the processed foods that they, especially to the poor.
And he really means it. He really means it. But here's the issue: when you really love people, right? I mean, when you really love people, they will turn you into a fruitcake.
That's what they're doing.
Because they'll attempt to do things. When you start talking against the establishment, people love data. So if somebody comes on and they have a bunch of data, they're going to discard the individual who had the weird data and go for the common data, right? Oh, it's just like everybody, right? Nobody likes NASA, right? Nobody likes NASA.
No, not really.
But if they saw something in the sky, they're going to break NASA's website. Oh, I got to go to NASA to find out. Of
course we will.
It's the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing. But don't worry, all of that will be broken because we live in a time of massive revealing, and it began with the weather. So you're back to that. You went full circle. You went war. You went politics. You went this. You went everything. But you're back to weather because when I'm hearing you, and see if I'm wrong, and this Colorado water event in Arizona, Mike, is that? I mean, that's not the first time that the Grand Canyon's had a flash flood. I mean, I know that, but is that? I mean, there was 104 people that be rescued by Black Hawk helicopters. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Is this what you're talking about, or is there more of this to come? No, that's not the water event, but it certainly is a prelude to what people are going to have to deal with. Okay. Right. Okay. The moisture, the ability of the atmosphere to rain, the rain that we see. Imagine the average storm dropping about probably next year about 82% more than what it drops right now, which means the average thunderstorm will drop about 7 inches of rain, right? And in some places per hour. Just think of that. Think of that. Why is this? Because fresh water is starting to take over the oceans. But not fresh water you want to drink. This is not fresh water you want to drink. This is very different water.
Okay.
So we have a salinity change, an actual chemical change in the oceans, right? They're not really discussing it or talking about it, but the sea life is responding to it. Every single day somewhere, some dolphins or whales are beaching themselves, pretty large specimens too. We have a lot of problems with the weather systems. And we've already, a long time ago, they said, hey, everybody, if the temperature goes up 1.3 degrees, we're in trouble. That was the tipping point. We passed that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago. And nobody, it is just shocking. Nobody's
talking about it. No.
So next year, the sun, the solar issues that we're going to have to go through, we're going through a peak in 2025. We went through a peak in 2024. This is only the first peak. Every single solar cycle has 2 peaks, right? We're going to have 3 this time, possibly 4
What?
peaks.
No, what you're talking about a maximum. You're talking about the solar maximum. It's going to have
Yes. We're going to have some peaks,
and then more.
We're going to have some peaks, which means, and during a solar cycle, right? All the sunspots gravitate towards the equator of the sun, right? And that's why they concentrate in the center. There's a butterfly graph where you can see these peaks, and you can see where the sunspots actually move in a solar cycle. Normally they have 2 specific peaks of activity. We're going to have more than that. Plus, we have a problem with the magnetic shielding of this Earth. It is starting to fluctuate. All of this has happened before. And every single time it does happen, it just increases in magnitude, right? So this year, if a lot of people in the Middle East, they understand about the heat this year. You walk outside and it's 130-some degrees and you fall over dead.
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
You know about
the
heat.
Yeah.
But what happens when it's 115 on the East Coast of America? In places where it's never been 115. Why has every temperature record been smashed this year again? Why are the oceans so hot that some people can't even enjoy themselves in the water at the beach because the water's too hot, right? So we have these issues happening, and it will escalate. It's going to escalate. And somebody knows that we have an incursion, or we have, let's just say that when it comes to monitoring the sky, if a person will put their finger in front of their face, all the money we spend covers that much of the sky. The rest we do not cover. So you have to do is hold your finger out at arm's length, right? Your finger will cover up a piece of the sky. That's how much of the sky we can see. We cannot see the rest.
Well, we're flying blind then, right? We're flying blind.
Of course we are, which is why many surprises are coming 2024 from up there.
24 and 25?
Yeah, fireworks will begin.
So, okay, now you've talked about meteorite belt, some kind of meteorite cloud. I think one time you talked about these 2 clouds out there a distance. And I think you used the word, we're coming into the galactical plane or some type of meteor belt. Is that part of this 2024, 2025 concern you have?
It certainly is 2025. But part of 2024 is just the standard unknown, these unknown issues, right? People at CERN there are people at CERN that those experiments at CERN, and some of the research and some of the things that come out of it, they have expanded their community. They also work with the International Space Station and other space platforms out there. So they coordinate their experiments. Obviously, they can see a lot more than we can, right? And again, there are good people in these places sometimes, and they will attempt to get, to put something out there in the hopes that people will understand it. Based off that statement you gave and some other internal things, I can almost guarantee that we're going to see some fatalities. We're actually going to start seeing fatalities of incursions beginning almost immediately. I can almost guarantee that. The rate at which things have penetrated the atmosphere, it's not stopped. Here's the issue, though. They don't report on that anymore,
No.
right? And evidently, I went to recently, I went to spacebrothers.com to see everything in there.
Yeah.
And I went to a few other sites. They're still scrubbing data.
They are?
They won't allow, they just simply won't allow, obviously, access to certain things. So
are you
have people who...
Are you talking about that? There's a chart on all the asteroids that are coming, and they have the name of the asteroid and how big it is and its speed and how close to the Earth. Are they giving us everything they see?
No. And that's the problem. No. Well, for example, when Russia had that explosion over them, nobody saw that coming.
No,
right?
Nobody. No, you're right. I remember that.
Why does it have but it has a number? How did it have a number prior to it exploding over Russia? Right? See, that's when BP Earthwatch was covering Einstein. Remember that?
Yep. It was 2000, I think it was around 2013, and BP was really watching Comet Ison, and then all of a sudden this thing just come out of nowhere and exploded in Russia.
And it had a numeric value prior to that date. So somebody saw it, but they wouldn't allow it to be. They knew exactly.
They knew it was coming, didn't they?
And now they know something flew right through it.
So are we being told, wait a minute, something flew right through it? What are you talking about?
Something flew through it and exploded that comet. And it after it went through it, that object went north.
Are you saying that somebody blew this thing up? They shot a rocket into it? Yeah.
Somebody shot, something went right through it. That's very clear.
What was the reason for that? Is that to lessen the blow? Or what?
That was defense. It was just an aerial explosion, kind of like Tunguska. It wasn't natural. They fired something in it. Yeah, to explode it. And but we'll have more of those. More of those. The bad part is
I have to give you.
We're gonna have it's full of ice, right? Arsenic, and that's gonna be bad. Some arsenic we can get away with, right? But we can't get away with high doses of arsenic. So I hope that people are prepped for this.
So, Mike, I know you've been very consistent with about the 2020, especially 2025. Every time I bring up Apophis in 29, you say, don't worry about that. You got to deal with 2025. So you've been very consistent on that. You've given us 1,000 hints that there's some kind of meteorite shower of some sort. But you must have some information, or there must be something that's big, or several boom, 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 some kind of invasion of, I'm not saying invasion, meteor impact coming, a deep impact that's coming. And because why are they building all these cities? I mean, why all this underground stuff going on? I mean, it's not just about nuclear war, is it?
No, it's not. You know what? There will come a day when people will run through cracked streets attempting to find shelter in buildings, underground, to shield them from the skies. When we deal with fire, that day will come as a surprise. And unfortunately, the greater populace is not going to know that. Nobody in the Christian community should ever look outside of the Christian community for any information regarding that, because I'll tell you something. If the Christian community does not acquire that information themselves, they're not going to get it. And they're about to get an example of that. Right? So let me just say, if somebody if they knew some weird way that 70,000 people were about to die, right? And nobody says a word, and then that event happens, wouldn't that be an example that nobody outside the Christian community is going to warn anybody about anything real they're going to have to deal with?
So 70,000 people could die. And if 70,000 people die from some kind of event, and we never got told it was going to happen, and then it happens, and we know when it happens that they knew, we will know that they knew. Somebody knew. Government leaders,
and they're not going to warn anybody.
They're not going to warn anybody, because if they do, there's anarchy, there's chaos.
That's the entire point. How can they warn? How can anybody out there warn the day they warn people is the day people will say, there's no use to be a nice guy anymore. Right. Because, Pastor Paul, most people suppress who they really are. Hopefully the Christian community has purged most of what they are, but most people suppress it. And more every single day, you're going to find that people are not suppressing who they are. They're going to display who they are. But if that event were to take place, I hope that Christians do understand that the world is not going to give them a heads up for what's
Yeah,
coming.
I agree with that.
They're not going to do it.
So let's say it happens. On December 15th or something. Let's just say, and there's this horrific. Let's say it's a deep impact of some sort. 70,000 people die. A tsunami is 100 foot deep or high. Homes are washed away. People are. It's just absolutely nobody's seen it coming. It's the most horrific. People are going to turn straight to the governments of their nations and say, "You had to have known." With all your satellites,
Yeah, they will.
they're gonna be angry, Mike. They're gonna be angry.
Just like whether it happens naturally or man-made, just like 9/11, same thing. It'll be the same thing. And believe me when I tell you, they're ready for people to blame them for something like that.
Oh, you're saying the governments are ready? They got a contingency plan on how to deal with the populace when the populace rise up against them.
That's right. They have a contingency.
It's going to get ugly then.
Pastor, it's going to get far uglier than people count on. Listen, though, it's those diligent folks who know about this, especially in Germany and in London and in the USA and in France, and they kind of have an obligation to keep the pulse.
They have to be quiet
of what's going around to inform the Christian community, because the world is not going to tell anybody about this stuff. Right, on both sides, and it is political. Listen, because they're saying on both sides that the other guy, the other gal is dangerous. That's what
they're really. Let me ask you a question. Let's go. I mean, I don't want to go political, but too much. But here, I just want to ask this question. Okay, November 5th is coming. We probably won't know who won on that night, but let's just say it doesn't matter. Let's just say we don't know which side won. It doesn't matter. We're so divided, it won't matter.
No.
I mean, we're in for chaos either way. It doesn't matter, right?
You have armies ready. If I'll you know what? Just a day ago, a militant faction acted. Nothing. There's been no election yet, and a militant faction has taken something over. Now, I don't know if it's going to be breaking news or not, but it's already
taken over
some
something.
Small way beginning. Yeah, they've taken something over already, and it's a problem. A militant faction. They're not going to wait. Many people are going to take it upon themselves, get themselves in position. They're going to be watching the election, and based on those numbers, everybody's not stable in the USA and other countries.
No.
They're not.
November 6th.
Now, keep in mind,
November 6th could be a dangerous day.
Everybody also, they ought to consider this. We have evil nations that would not hesitate to strike us if they thought they could get away with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So guess what? As we get closer to this election date, these foreign nations are watching to see which way it's leaning. If they think that Trump is going to win, I'm telling you now, the Middle East is going to act. They're going to act. They're going to act because they've talked about too much rhetoric.
Yeah.
They know our financial positions. They've been constantly hacking us. They are the ones that compromised our cell phone service. They're the ones that compromised the water treatment plants in the Midwest and on the East Coast. They are the ones who did this. So they're watching. If it starts leaning towards Trump, the Middle East is going to act. If it starts leaning towards the Democrats, China is going to initiate something. They're not going to wait for the election, Pastor Paul. They can't, because once somebody is seated, right, military orders are pretty quick. They would rather deal with standard operating procedures.
Well, they would rather deal with Harris in the White House because of Biden and Harris. If that's the case, let's just say the world would be
militarily though, they don't want a president, because when you have a president, orders can be returned faster. Right.
Yeah. When there's chaos,
initiation.
When there's chaos, then you never know.
That's right. When you're in the middle of an election, if they're not sure of policy, right, it does slow down the return time, because it has to go through a council first, and then it will go back to military jurisdiction points. But so they're going to act before that ever happens. So based on what's taking place, and we could people should be ready to see a breakdown in as far as peace is concerned, a breakdown in the Middle East fairly abruptly at any given moment, based upon which way
know.
this thing is
Okay,
leaning.
let's look at this today. The defense minister, Yoav Gallant, came out publicly and said, Netanyahu, you got to do a ceasefire right now, because if you don't, this thing is about to blow wide open. We're about to go into a major regional war. So that was one pressure on Netanyahu. The same time he was doing that to him, the former prime minister, Lapid, blamed Netanyahu completely for October 7th, saying he knew there was so much chatter, he was given so much intel, and yet he just sat on his hands and let this happen. He should have done something. So he's totally blaming Netanyahu. Netanyahu's already got those two guys, the schism in the body. And while that's going on, you got Biden putting a ton of pressure on him. You got the UN threatening to take him to The Hague. I mean, how's this guy going to be able to handle all that pressure?
Well, yeah. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the populace, the world may not understand. But I'll tell you something. If Benjamin Netanyahu is removed, watch what happens no more than 10 days after his removal.
It's over.
Just watch and see what happens. And then people, that's going to speed up biblical prophecy like nobody ever thought, in the wrong way. Because and nothing will stop that kingdom of darkness that's rising.
You're
I hope
right.
that people really understand. Right now it's time to put evil in perspective, and always remember that not everybody is smart, right? So some people are doing things that are not so smart. But that doesn't make him evil all the time.
Right.
I know a lot of foolish people that have done some pretty foolish things. But evil will embrace you. Evil will get into your circle. Evil will tear you to shreds just almost effortlessly, right? Evil gets very close. This kingdom that's rising will be a kingdom of peace for the world. But it's going to be spiritually corrupted for Christians.
Let's talk about that.
It's going to be the answer for the world.
Let's talk about this beast kingdom.
I know a lot of people are looking for something that's obvious. But Jesus didn't say, he said it would not be obvious. He said that if we were not watching, even we would get caught off guard. That's what he said. Didn't he give us a command to watch?
Yes, he did.
He said, watch therefore. Right?
Yes.
Watch and pray always. So if we're not watching, we're not going to know either, which means if we he told us what watching was.
Yes.
He told us what watching was not. He said a person that does not watch begins to smite his fellow servants and begins to do stuff back in the world again. So here it is. If our attention, if we're embedded into this world again with its stuff and all of its crises and everything else, we're going to miss the mark. The Lord is almost asking us to stand back in faith in a position of power, right? Not so much one of these folks in the world who are so bogged down with everything they can't see past their own issue or situation. And consequently, Satan is trying to tie everybody up in their own personal situation, right? I see that a lot with Christians, but this kingdom that's rising, it's right there. If people would take a step back, they'd begin to see it. But I believe it can only be seen by righteousness and unrighteousness, pure and simple. I don't think it could be noticed. The world's not going to call the Antichrist the Antichrist.
No.
The world's going to call the Antichrist the answer. And do you know right now in the Middle East, somebody's being prepared. Somebody's being suited, they call it.
To be the Antichrist?
And it's not from Turkey.
Okay.
It is not from
Is it
Turkey.
from Jordan? Is it from Saudi Arabia?
More in that province. They're being
Is it
suited.
Israel?
No, it's
No,
not
it's not
in
Israel. No, I knew it wasn't.
But see, here's the issue. There are 3 people in the Middle East of which supernatural things always happen around. Always happen around.
Okay.
There's some things happening in the Middle East which probably has emboldened Iran, in truth, which is probably why Turkey is trying to position itself to be the right-hand person in this thing that's coming forward.
Well, I see Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia, Saudi Crown Prince. I see King Abdullah II, the Hashemite King of Jordan. I see the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who thinks he's the supreme leader of Iran. I see Erdogan, President Erdogan of Turkey. Those four guys, I mean, I don't trust them as far as you throw them. Okay. And there's and there's others. I know there's others. So am I close, Mike? Am I hot? Am I cold?
Well, you're in the family.
Okay.
I'll give you one hint, and I'm no theologian or anything like that, but I like the book of Daniel.
Yes.
In the book of Daniel, it says that the people, they do not give him the honor of the kingdom, so they don't really like him.
I got you.
The government of that kingdom doesn't really like him, but he overcomes that through flattering the people, telling the people exactly what they want to hear. And then he's richer than all the others that came before him. And he travels across the province of that region, right?
Yeah.
Scattering among them the prey, the spoils, and the riches. So this guy's rich.
Yeah, he's rich.
Well, that narrows it down right there.
You got it down to 2 right there.
Right. Now that's the natural element. This guy that's coming forward. But there are candidates out there. There's one guy that comes from the family. He's from the root of Muhammad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I know,
but he has no real position or anything.
Right.
But he's quickly coming up because they're going to make some changes in the kingdoms around there. So that time is coming a little bit sooner.
So we're going to see a change. We're going to be a shift because somebody's from the lineage of Muhammad.
Yeah, and it's caused a buzz, right, among the clerics and everybody else over there, right? So they're suiting him, right? They're suiting him is like measuring everything against him. But here's the other thing: this guy does not want it.
Oh, so he's going to get thrust into this position.
He does not want it. He didn't want it. I mean, vehemently, he does not want it. And so that kind of captured my attention, you know. But
let me ask you a
Turkey,
question.
they're not going to make it.
Yeah. Oh, really? Turkey's not going to make it?
No.
Okay.
No,
because they're
about to enter into a real war.
Because they're cursing Israel and they're reneging on their NATO alliance and they're doing so many. This guy's just nuts. I think. Let me ask you: King Charles is sick. Now, I remember when he first came into power, you said there's certain things can't be done unless there's a king. Maybe he did some of the things you talked about. I don't know, but he's sick. We don't know how sick he is, but I know one thing. I've studied comets. Well, first of all, if you just study comets in history, something about it when they go by, kings die. Okay. Now he's sick. We've got this comet right now. There's a comet that's on the way.
Oh boy.
And Prince William's hanging in the wings. Is there anything going on here that we need to know?
Well, I'll tell you what. When does this comet come by?
It comes by in October.
Okay. Guess what else happens in October?
Tell me.
It's part of a very different alignment. Happens in October.
Okay.
It's a very different one. So it's not only that, but we have an alignment that will not take place for another, I believe it's like 8,000 years or something like that.
Those four planets that come into a square?
Yeah, two of those planets
are
the important ones. The rest are detractors. In other words, the rest are just distractions. Two of those planets mean everything. And when all this is right in the same neighborhood. Right.
October.
Now, there have been policies of that king that he has set up for whatever king comes forward. Now a king will come forward. A king will come forward, right? And that king is set up with powers and authorities. Boy,
could that be
going to be something?
Okay. So Mike's talking about there is an alignment going to happen where four planets, they don't line in a linear. They set up a box, something that won't happen for like 8,000 years, I think you said?
Yeah, because they're equally, that's known as when you have planets that show themselves this way, right? In a box or side by side.
Yeah.
Right? That means they're, what they call that term.
I don't know.
Equally luminous. That phrase, equally luminous, means they're both bright at the same time. Right? Yes. If they're in alignment, you can only see, one at a time. So the brightness is kind of skewed. But when they're all shining, then the brightness is equal, and that's what makes the difference. The equal brightness of them makes the difference. And so these patterns in the heavens, they certainly do have. They have a lot to do with historical.
Yeah,
things,
they do.
Right?
Okay, so you're gonna have this, and then at the same time you're having this, you got this comet Atlas that's on its way, and it's going to appear. It's going to first really be seen because it's been behind the sun's been blocking it. You're going to see it on October the 9th, which is in the Feast of Trumpets, and then it's going to get its brightest with its longest tail on October 19th, which is in the Feast of Tabernacles. But that's going to be going on while these 4 planets are in alignment, and that's going on. Okay, that's a feast, and it's the feast period. Okay, so there's a lot there, but a comet's a lot of times mean a king is going to die and a new one's coming in. I don't know what all this other stuff means, but I'm just saying historically, I do know what comets happen. But you're saying there's something happening. Is there a shift in the heavens going to cause a shift on the earth?
I think it's alluded to. I don't want to say anything without knowing exactly, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
I don't want to put my foot in my mouth.
Maybe next Thursday. Maybe next Thursday we can let's
Yeah. I'll have it.
Okay, you have it. Okay.
These because I believe, this is my belief, but in Genesis, the Lord God positioned everything as per His liking, but He set everything in the skies for signs and for seasons.
Amen.
And we know that word is signals. So they do mark a calendar, a clock. So if people would not get into the esoteric stuff, but really understand the structure of the heavens, they'd find some pretty wild things.
Amen.
Right? But they will also know historically that they do coincide with all the major events.
So
every single last one of them.
Listen to
so
what
it's
you
beyond
just
coincidence.
Said. Okay, we're not talking astrology, folks. We're not at all talking astrology. That is where the devil has tried to hijack God's signals to us.
That's right.
Am I right, Mike?
So we wouldn't even look at it.
So we wouldn't even look because, God,
That's right.
Begley and Mike are talking about astrology. Right. No, we're not. We're talking biblical prophetic signs that God said, Genesis 1:14. God said, He put signs in the heavens. He said, for day and night, and for signs and seasons, and for years, days and years, calendar. And He's saying to us, if you'll watch what I'm telling you, I'm speaking to you, whether it be in a solar eclipse or a blood moon or a planet alignment or a comet in the heavens. If you just listen to me, I'm talking to you. The devil said, oh, really? Let me just go in there and corrupt that and then condemn every Christian that ever looks up there. And that's what you're saying, aren't you, Mike?
Oh, yeah. So I don't see it like, the astrologers knew about Ezekiel, Isaiah, all of them. They knew about the heaven. Job knew about it. Everybody knew about it. It's knowledge that's been lost. It is part of creation.
Amen.
Right? And they certainly do their job. But I think that people have turned it. They just pervert it. Satan perverts everything. It's like all these ghost shows that are out right now. Satan has people thinking about these spirits the way he wants them to interpret them. Newsflash, these people are being marked.
Yep.
Because the gates are opened. They're open. You know what that means? The gates open. That means there are people walking among us right now, right? That are going to show exactly what they are. And I guarantee you, Pastor Paul, people are not going to care, but some people will run, but most will attempt to entertain them. There are a lot of witches in this world, people who practice witchcraft. Yep. And they continue to call them forward. I hate to say it, but this lust for UFOs has been one of the keys to opening the doors.
Is it deception? Is it delusion?
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, anytime we lust after something, have this unquenchable thirst for something that is not righteousness, right? It's only going to feed the darkness within us. And whether people know it or not, they are the authority on the God gave man the authority on the earth. So when mankind has a desire to see something, He's inviting it. Right?
Amen.
That goes for everybody. That's us in our homes and everything else.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I noticed when I had a desire to do certain things, everything will start changing. And I would notice the smallest changes in my environment. So desire is powerful, but desire gives authority to spirits we can't even see. And if we're just calling anything in, just come on so I can see you, that desire that's when a person becomes a portal. And through that person, many things will come. Not only to that person, but Satan is trying to get to the families of the individual he comes through.
Amen.
He'll do anything to destroy everything he can, right? So I have no desire for that, but I see it happening all over the world.
Amen.
And unfortunately, when they're irresponsible about the UFO topic, like they sensationalize it in the world, people get a strong desire to
pursue
go
it.
and
Pursue
do
it.
things with some things they know nothing about, right? And that's bad.
That's when
because
you
they
get in
create
the
a desire, and
get,
they end up tormented.
You get in the demon world. You start entering into the demon
They're being
world.
marked. They're being marked, Pastor Paul, and the day will come when there will be no more barrier. When that barrier is taken down, then I believe that passage in the Bible, when it says men will seek death but will not find it, and death will flee from them, that day they're going to have to deal with.
Amen. Mike, this has been an incredible evening. I mean, we could talk for hours. I think and there's almost 9,000 people here. They'd probably stay with us for hours, but we gotta have to let you go. And I want to thank you. We've really covered a ton of topics. You've been incredibly open and given us great advice. And that question we were talking about, I think we got to talk about that next Thursday. Those are Planet 4 planets.
We will.
Let's talk about that next Thursday.
We will.
Thank you for being here tonight, Mike. I appreciate you always. I really, really, really do coming on here on these shows on Thursday night. I really appreciate it.
Pastor Paul, it's always an honor. God bless you, brother.
The honor is mine. God bless you so much. God bless you, Mike.
All right.